everybody. I am Andra Annette, and I am here with my fabulous co-host, Lorilet Monegro, and we are Souls Code. So today we want to come in and just talk to you a little bit about mindset and how much that really impacts everything you're doing in your life day to day, whether it's business, relationships, or whatever you're working on, whether you're running business. So we're just popping in to share our thoughts and our hindsight. So, Lorilet, how do you feel about what I just said?
About mindset?
Yeah.
I think that you always put me on the spot. I know people probably think we rehearse this stuff and we don't. We're just like, oh Lord. Um, well, mindset, I tell you, it really drives everything. I notice that whenever I'm not in a good frame of mind, like my mindset is not set to the right dial, I can be pretty difficult, not agreeable. I can just become irritable, right? So the mindset matters as how you show up.
I
And
agree.
we forget that we have a power in that. I tell you because sometimes I do it inadvertently, and that's when I'm not being mindful. Because of course I'm just a regular human being. I'm not special in any way. But I feel like we have to keep working and working at it.
So I just turned off settings. So these little pop-ups were coming on my computer. It was annoying me. So I think that mindset really impacts us on a day to day. Uh, and I think self-concept and self-confidence plays into that because when things aren't going our way, you know, we tend to get into that negative mindset. If I only had, or why does this happen to me, or how come I'm not further along, and how come they have everything and I'm still struggling. So it depends on where you're at in your life to what you aspire to be. And sometimes things don't always have, there's a divine plan for everything. And I really believe that. And sometimes it doesn't align with what we want and our perfect timing. So that does, even if you believe and you have faith and you say it's going to happen, and you have confidence in that, when it's not happening quite as quickly as you'd like it to, whatever you're working on, then your mindset starts swaying a little bit and you're in and you're out and you're in and you're out of what you're really trying to achieve. And that does impact those outcomes and how quickly they happen. So I'm one of those people who believes that the things we think and what we empower about ourselves really does show up in our, I'll choose it. That's not the right word, but in our current world, right? So if we're always thinking about finances and the bills and we're always worried about what's in the bank, then we're in lack, right? We're not in abundance, and we can't be in lack and abundance at the same time. They're polar opposites, right? So love is on that higher scale, with gratitude and things like that. So I think our mindset shifts dependent on what's going on in our life. So if things aren't good, then you're not going to be all cheery and happy, and I mean, because we are people, we're normal, and when, you turn on the news and somebody just didn't win $1 million, they won $700 billion, right? And you're like, how does that even happen? So sometimes when we don't have everything that we want, we tend to feel like we're in lack. And I think that that does shift how we show up. It does shift on our confidence. I remember I was listening to these abundance mindset tapes, swear. And it was talking about how you should walk with your head high and all this stuff, and that people see you different and you'll start to feel different. I said, all right, let's give this a try. Let's see if people treat me different today. So I literally walked around like I owned the world that day. And I have to, I mean, whoo, like who I thought I was. And I got to tell you that people did respond to me differently. People were more friendly, like, hi, how are you? you know? And I went out of my way to say hello to people. Hi, how are you? Good morning. And as I strutted down the street.
So you were doing
And
a social experiment.
yes, and it did, my day just got progressively better. The more interactive I was and the happier I was about my outcomes and what was happening around me, the better my day got. And it might have just been because I was experiencing a better attitude about how I was going to approach things. And attitude and mindset are a lot alike, right? So if you're negative and you're always seeing the negative in things, then you won't see those few little positive things that pop up. So I know that that day was truly miraculous, if nothing else. I mean, just really, I mean, everything that could go my way went my way that day. I mean, I don't think I've had a great day like that since. And it was really just the way I approached it, because the tape is telling you that you should project what you want people to see, that you're happy, you're confident, and they're talking about how if you're slouched and growling to the thing, that you're not approachable and you don't look confident, and that people see that and I believe that you do wear your heart on your sleeves. I think that I could look at somebody and absolutely see what kind of mood they're in. I can actually get that from a text. I was talking to someone from work today, and I could hear her mood through that text. And I texted her back, "Hey, Andra, how are you? Is there a reason you're calling? What's going on today?" Right? Like I was letting her know, oh my God, you're inapproachable, right? Because you can hear how people respond, because for the first 5 minutes of the text, all I got was this negative thing. So I was like, "Hey, Andra, how are you? Why are you calling today?" So I was letting her know, listen,
Like,
listen, I said good morning and I got this, right? So I think there are ways that we can express a better forward facing view to the world. And I think the more that we are positive in our forward facing appearance to the world, that the more positive that will attract to us. And I also believe that you don't even have to believe it. You just have to tell yourself it's fact, right? Because our mind doesn't know the difference between truth and fact. It only knows what we tell it. We're the ones having all the conversations with it. So what if we change those conversations, right? We can change those conversations at any time.
true, true.
I know that when I was on that health journey, I was getting so much negativity from the doctors, and they were telling me that I was stuck in that body. And I said, I'm not having it.
Right.
Maybe you can stay in this body, but I'm not. Right. And as soon as I changed my outlook on it,
You did
things
more than that.
progressively got better. And nothing really changed. Not I mean, sure, I was eating better and stuff, but my mind about what I was eating changed. That's what changed. That I absolutely know
Yes.
what to eat. Why am I struggling with this?
Right.
Snap out of it, girl.
Yeah. I mean, when you say these things, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just thought about, the idea of having a mental blueprint, right? And how that blueprint continues to replicate a specific outcome. And in order to have a different outcome, you have to replace that blueprint with a totally different rendition, right? Almost like an architect that has to kind of create all of the different components to this particular construction they're going to make. And I think that we're sort of like that, but we have to have that vision of what that's going to be so that then we can kind of say, well, you know what, I reject or I accept that idea, that rendition. And I think that's what you did with those doctors. You were like, no, I reject that. That's not what I see. That's not what I believe. That's not what I have by design created for my life. And that's not the outcome. And so, because you were able to directly reject it, you could shatter whatever influence. Because, on this issue of mindset, I was about to ask, how do you deal with, let's say you're happy and jolly and you're like a very focused but also loving and energetic person, right? And you happen to be around people who are wretched all the time. And they just try to find ways to trigger a response from someone who uses their critical thinking skills 99.9% of the time, because they're that accurate. They're like a machine. And when I say that, I mean they're focused. They're not interested in chit-chatting. They're not interested in wasting their time. They're interested in doing quality work because that's just their personality, not because they have any problem with anybody. That's their personality. All good
I know a
intention,
girl like this.
all good intention. But then you
Listen,
have people who think that Halloween and bah humbug and all the horrible things have to happen in the middle of January or June or any time of the day that they feel like it, because they want to control such a being. And that being is not controlled that way. That being is controlled with love. Right away surrenders to love, not nastiness, because then you
but
wake up
you
another
have
person.
to, people have, but people have to identify their triggers. So, and speaking to that point, because, I'm rewriting a book that I wrote as a kid, and there was so much trauma in that, right? And you spoke about rejection. So bad things kept happening to me, and I kept trying to understand my place in that. And as a child, it really wasn't my doing, but I was stuck in that place. But every day I rejected it, that it wasn't my life. My real family's coming for me, I told myself. I don't know what I'm doing here, right? So I just rejected those things, and I found a way to step away from the negativity, so that those people, those triggers no longer have that control, right? So we do have to identify our triggers, because I still have triggers that come up. I will meet people on a day to day that are not aligned with me, and I'll tell them very clearly. People will ask me a question, and I'll, answer them very clearly. And it was like I said nothing. They'll come back and ask me the same question, and I'll say again, what part of no did you not understand? Because I just said no
Right.
very simply.
Yeah,
So,
pushing
so,
boundaries to control.
and there are people that will do that, but that's outside of you. So the only one that we can really control, and the only ones that
Ourselves.
we have to have focused on, is ourselves. We can only clean our side of the street. And most of the times, what's happening on the other side of the street, not only is it none of our business, but it's not even food for thought. Because when we start worrying about everybody else
True.
and what everybody else is doing, it does take the focus off ourselves. And
Oh,
it
no,
does,
no.
and
Yeah.
it does change our mindset. And we, as people, we're all different. And I really believe in that live and let live, there's no secrets about my past, and I had to adapt that feeling, live and let live, right? And if I really say live and let live, then I can't tell people how to live. I have to let them be them, and just not hold credence to those things that interject throughout my day. So I have lots of people that come in my office and come to me during the day, and they're like those people that think Halloween has to happen right now. Like, like, and
True.
I'm
Oh,
just like, sorry, I'm already on Christmas. Thanks, thanks for the inclusion, but no, thank you. So, and I just redirect myself back to what I have to do, because there are always going to be people that pull you away or try to.
oh no, they attempt. They attempt. That's what I'm saying.
There's
It's a
always going to be
desire to
people.
control. It's a
Yeah.
desire to control. I know exactly where it's coming from. It's a desire to control. Sometimes I think I look way too young, and people think that I'm this 25-year-old person. And I'm like, I'm a grown person. Like, don't. It's just I also find that people confuse kindness with something
Weakness.
else.
with
with all
weakness,
kinds of other things
with weakness. When
that
you're
has
kind,
nothing to do with reality, you know.
yes, but when you're kind, people think that it's sweetness, you know. Shame
Oh
on
no,
you.
I can be severe. I can be severe, and that's the part of me that I don't like to come out, because I don't like injustice, you know? Like, it's not fair when people go around doing all kinds of weird things to ruin people's lives, to derail people's day, to do kinds of things just out of an ill place. It's really vindictive and toxic nature. And so there's only but so much you can contain when a person just has vibes like that. But we all encounter them, which is why we have to learn to, again, yeah, redirect and not allow
And change your
all that.
mindset. Because when you start to feel sorry for them, when you see them for what they are, and you can almost empathize with them,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because
Part of me does.
but you have to, because people that have that need to control, usually it's connected to jealousy in some way, and it's really a very high compliment. They feel like it is. It's a compliment in a very odd way. It is, because they are jealous and they try to control, to show authority, to make themselves feel better, because inside they feel inferior. So people project their own feelings onto the world. So if they try to control it, it's saying that they don't have that control over their own life, right? So they feel the need to control things around them. So you should be saying, "Oh, you poor dear, your life must be a mess."
What all I
But
can say
I'm
is
okay.
this is what
But I'm okay over here. So
mindset is
keep
everything.
it
I mean,
moving.
I reset all the time. And I say this with love, but I think that we all have to kind of have these ways of resetting, you know. And I'll tell you, part of what I do for resetting is I'll either play a song, or I'll look up a wonderful quote, or I might just send a message to someone I really care about and be like, hey, just thought of you. I hope you're okay. Sending you love, right? What I'm not necessarily receiving at that moment, I try to push it out so that it becomes a part of my mental escape, you know, from any of that. Like, I'm not gonna let my mind go wander in the wrong direction, because that doesn't make me productive. And not only that, it just doesn't allow me to feel empowered in my own energy. You know what I mean? I don't
So
want to take somebody else's energy.
how empowered would you feel? So I did a reel on Facebook about this, that people were pushing my buttons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some days people,
Yes, yes. And that I think it was one of our shows, and they were just seeing a clip of our show, that people were getting on my last nerve. They were pushing my buttons, and I had to stop and ask myself, why are these people pushing my buttons? What about them is triggering this reaction in me? And then I had to have that conversation with myself, and I saw that they don't align with who I am as a person, and that's okay.
right?
But that was my way of saying, okay, then I shouldn't interact with these people, because them bringing this out in me is not okay.
Not
And I
okay.
don't, I'm very outgoing and friendly, and I'm kind to a point. But when it comes between my peace and someone
Yeah, it's
else's,
not worth it.
my personal space, my peace is always the most important in the room, you know. And I worked very hard on that piece, and nobody is worth getting that out of me, right? So I won't, I won't let people have that control of me. So at one point in my life, I was that reactionary person. When someone said something to me and I didn't like it, what did you say?
Oh
What?
no, I don't even bother. I
No,
don't.
but I was that person. And
Right, and I see it all the time. Many people do think that again, but I feel like all of that is about control, whether it is that you lash out back, or whether it is that you just try to keep yourself focused, you know?
but sometimes the best revenge is doing well, especially when people are trying to demean you. Someone is trying to trigger you. the more you show them they don't have that control,
The more angrier they
the
get.
more that they will be out of control in themselves. And then it's not you that has to worry because you're not letting them invade this space. So
Oh,
their
no, no,
nervous
no.
system is a mess and
Heck no,
you're
girl. No, 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 no. This is God territory. What are you talking about? No, no, no. None of that is entering anywhere in here. We can have a
not.
conversation, and that's clipit.com. No.
That's my girl. See, that's what I'm talking about. They can do whatever they want
Oh,
with
no, no, no.
their
Mm-mm.
nervous system, but they
You
don't
know,
get to affect
let me
mine.
tell you, if someone attacks a sense of justice, meaning right and wrong, I can get that triggers me. And I know that because I don't like when people make up stories. I have a problem with those ideas. But outside of that, nah, every day I like to have my communication with my creator. I like to have a life of peace. I like to go to sleep in peace. I like to wake up in peace. Peace is number one in my mind. I can interact with all kinds of issues all day long, and I let it just kind of go, and I try to work out through whatever I have to work out. But you do have, I'll tell you, I don't know if it's COVID or what. I do find that people have changed a lot, in terms of their demeanor and just,
Entitlement. I see a
people
lot
are
more
a little bit
entitlement.
different. I don't know if it was like the social distancing part, the
They might be
vaccine.
having trouble re-entering reality. They might.
I don't know. Like I
They
feel a lot
might.
of,
But
you
were
know,
they ever part of reality? But I find that the more positive I am and the more I keep an eye on my mindset and where my head's at.
yep.
Because I, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I spoke to you about Mary Morrissey before in the past, but I worked with her in a program and stuff, and it was all about reframing that mindset
We
where
have to every day.
yeah, it is. It's a
It's
daily
every day.
practice. So people talk about healing. You're always healing. So I'm recovering like I opened fresh wounds when I did that book today, right? When it's done. I finished it today, right? So but during that process, I saw wounds that I haven't looked at in a long time. And when they came up, it triggered different emotions for me, not the negativity, but it still
Right.
triggered something. So
Of
I
course.
did have to look at my mind and where I was and how far I've come, right? And how to keep going. And I think there's always a mindset shift that
Always. Every
but
day.
her program always said that when you find yourself in that negativity, saying like, "Oh, I can never remember people's names up until now," so
It's like, wait a minute, that was before, not today.
yeah, but and I walked around doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
People never knew when that was going to come out to me. Yeah.
100%. If I think about this in the way of like therapeutically, it's interrupting the patterns, right? Like when you think about, hey, I'm having this recurrent theme of negativity, and you're like, wait, no, I got to interrupt this, and then I got to replace that, right, with like something different, whether that be a reframing of that thought or whatever I was saying to myself. And I think that this is where that replacement piece is important. If you're realizing that you're getting into these patterns,
Mhm.
put something else in place. If you realize that every time you come home, you just want to go eat potato chips, then maybe stop by the gym and not come eat potato chips. Like find something that you're going to put in there to redirect that energy, because we're the only ones who can make those decisions. So we
Yeah.
have to find that idea of like, no, reject this negativity and switch, which is what I did. I was like, no, this is God's land. No, thank you. No, no, God's territory. Don't like that, girl. No.
Yeah, we have full control of our inner and outer world. So what's in our personal space, not what's in other space. But we have full control over that, and we can change anything that's not working. But you have to believe it. So a lot of people will say, "Oh, I tried those affirmations and they didn't work." So affirmations are not the same as reframing your mindset. It's very different. Anybody can say the sun is coming up rose, coming up roses, but you have to feel it. So if you say you're $1 million business owner, but you're skimping on getting help in your business, then it's not congruent. It's not a match, right? So if you were that $1 million business owner, then you would invest in those sources that you need to help you, right? To procure a better business, right? So it really is about embodying what you want to become, right? So I do these tapes for clients, and they have to envision themselves and they are. So one of the things I ask them is what is the weight they want to get to, right? And so when you arrive, you're there. And I usually send them tapes, and in those tapes it will say whatever that weight was on my perfect weight at, everywhere I go, fruits and vegetables are chasing me, So
No?
all these silly little things. But I said you have to listen to it and you have to embody it and believe it, right? Because if you look at the course of your life, and this is a serious question, have you ever noticed that someone you were fighting with, or maybe a boyfriend that you broke up with, all of a sudden you start seeing his car everywhere, or things pop up that remind you that, but those are the kind of things that happen because your mind is there and that's what you see, right? Like, should have ended this, is this okay? So what you focus on is the most is what you're going to see. So it's just as easy to focus on health as it is to focus on sickness, right? And then you'll be more aligned with health. It's just as easy to focus on financial security as it is to focus on those declining bank statements, right? So you have to choose where you want to be. And
Yeah.
when you have those thoughts that pop up and say, who am I kidding? There's no money coming in, or whatever the story is, then you tell yourself, up until now.
Yeah, but you also have to take action, like you have to come up with
Do
like,
a plan.
the idea of like, okay, I want to lose weight, but I gotta make sure I don't eat the cheeseburger every day. Or you know what? I don't like the gym, but I can go for a walk and I can carry little weights. Like you have to kind of make yourself successful by deciding what you're going to choose. I mean, this idea of choice, I've been using it lately a lot in my goal setting. Is like, what do I choose? And I write a sentence. I choose to whatever that is. And I find it that it just lands differently for me.
Yeah,
It's
because
been
you know it's your
landing
choice.
very differently than other ways that I would in the past do these types of goals, where I would just write them out as a statement that in my subconscious and even in my conscious awareness, I was like, well, but not really. There was a negation of it. But when it's a choice, then I'm obligated to find a how. Because now it's like,
But you also feel empowered.
right. And so I feel like that type of shift, even as simple as the word choose, right? Like I choose, just puts you in such a driver's seat mode where you're calling the shot.
I choose. I keep sneezing. I choose. Ah, that was cute. Um, I think that making those choices, is really so important. And I think taking that stance where you're asking yourself, and making and saying I choose and empowering yourself in that way is a much better way of handling it,
Yes.
Um, and it is always a choice. Health is a choice. Sickness is a choice.
Yeah.
To fill your house with fruits and vegetables or fill your house with processed
Right.
food is a choice. But you
It's a
can't
choice.
ask yourself what's happening in your world when you're not creating those choices in a better way, right?
Right. Right. Yes.
It does come down because you know, a lot of people will play the victim, like they don't understand how they're getting these outcomes, but they're
Well,
not putting in the steps.
it's just like, again, this year I was saying to myself, how do I, because of course we set goals in different areas, whether that be, hey, I want to, I don't know, take care of my hair, or I want to take care of my skin. Well, how do you choose that, right? And I kept asking myself, well, how? And then I said, you know what? You have to choose. You have to choose that. If you don't choose that and your brain and your heart aren't aligned, that that's a clear choice, guess what? It's not going to happen. And I think that this is really one of the most recently empowering ideas that I have been um, working through. And I really appreciate just the shift. Again, language, just a choice of words can create such a different reality in terms of perception and the feeling of like, oh, I can win at this, because it's you against you. And
Yeah.
every time you don't meet whatever you set in your mind, right, it can feel very devastating, which is why, the failure keeps happening, or why this sense of disempowerment. So I think that, becoming more aware of those words that we're choosing, right? And that script that we're running in our mind all comes
Again and
back to
again
that
and
whole
again. Yes.
mindset thing, the whole mindset, and what are you picking on, and what are you retaining from your past, and what are you recycling. And but it's a process every
Yes.
day, because people are going to come. You could be in your white beautiful dress with your golden statue, and then boom, somebody comes with their mud.
All right. So we're gonna end it on the mud tonight. We're gonna let you stay in your white satchel.
Okay, and think about that.
Yeah. So we're gonna leave it there tonight. We like coming in and just sharing our ideas. A lot of times people think no one is really listening or no one identifies with what they're going through. And I think we all go through pretty much the same things at different times of our lives. And we're just sharing some of our experiences and hoping that it helps you in some way. So I'm Andra Annette, and this is Lorilet Monegro, and thanks for joining us here on Soul Code. Have a good night, guys.